All right, we're back. Oh, there's our heads. Okay, fixing this. Yeah, it's our broadcasting studio. We got live and direct. All right, so finishing your story.
So, the last email I sent to Brian was like 16 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And a month ago,
Mm-hmm.
I check my emails in the morning and there's an email from him. And I'm like, holy fucking shit. Like, that must be an old email. Like, I have not seen anything from him in 3+ years.
Right.
And then I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh no, that's a new email.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at the airport flying to see a client, and it was early in the morning, and I'm like, Tion, I got an email from Brian.
Right.
Because I'm like, all right, I've learned. So this is, when I got it, I'm like, all right, well, this is obviously a test for how I'm going to communicate this to Tion,
Mm-hmm.
and how I'm going to be able to navigate my own feelings and not hide anything, not minimize anything, and be, on the up and up. Like, we're testing what we are saying we have learned.
Right.
So I'm like, hey, I guess who I got an email from, and he's like, word.
Word.
It's probably not what you want to hear at 8 in the morning, 7:30 in the morning.
Well, it depends on which part of me. There's several parts
Right.
of me, so.
So, I scan the email. I'm like, it's actually like not email cussing me out or anything. It's actually a friendly email, and it's cool. You
Right.
know, I forwarded it to Tion so he can see it, and I'm like, hey, I'm actually gonna be down your way today. I'm flying down. You want to meet for coffee? And he's like, yeah, sure. So we start talking about meeting up for coffee, and I'm
Right.
like, wow, that feels different. So we ended up not meeting up for coffee that day, but that caused, like, Tion and I had a series of really cool conversations. I really enjoyed the way that it went,
Right.
the whole process, right? Like, you gave me a lot of space, and I could tell that you were tense about it.
Right.
You were waiting to see what I was going to do, and it wasn't as much as what I was going to do.
Right.
Because I'm pretty sure you know what I was going to do and not going to do, but it's how I was going to talk about it.
Right. And it's both. I mean, honestly, for those years from when I found out until recently, I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm done with him. That was the first time. I'm done. Like, I'm done. He's human. I don't hate him, but I'm done. I don't need that person in my life anymore. That's a sacrificial lamb for us to continue. And then as you get further away and you heal up a little bit more, you're further away, you're like, I can understand where he was coming from and based on how he lives and why things went the way they went. Now, if he's willing to do X, Y, and Z as far as engage the conversation, I have room for forgiveness. But I'm still done. I'll forgive. After a while, I kind of moved to, like, if he can do that, I can see a pathway for us being cool. Like, we may never be what we were, but we'll be cool because, to me, it's about, if someone's willing to own their shit and sit in the fire and respond to the conversations and hear my side and not scour or get defensive or put the ego hat on, then, as I try to be a good medium of the spirit of the universe of connection, the universe rewards me for being able to embrace somebody who's doing the work, and let go of the personal pain. So by this time, I was kind of in that space, but that's my spirit. My child who was hurt and devastated was like, oh shit, what does this mean? My worrier is like, oh shit, here we go again. Like, she may just, fall back into, and then she go into the part where she's emotionally feeling this draw and this excitement, but mentally saying she's not. And then this happens again. So that was freaking out. Then the Joe Pesci in my head is like, fuck that. I want to go cuss her and him out. I want to wait. My spirit says, guys, just wait. You know, if she does something that's worthy of getting cussed out, we'll let you do it, Joe. You know, if she does something that's crazy, I'll protect you to my inner child. So we're all sitting like this in the room, like the spirit's calm. Joe Pesci's like looking out the window, like, and then my inner child is like freaking out over the corner. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! So it was all of that was happening, and then my spirit, my whole being is like this. No, it's cool. Just go ahead. You know.
And it was really cool that we were in different spaces.
Right.
You know, like I'm in SoCal, you're like here. I'm with a client. It's not, we're not in each other's face. So we were able to, have a very steady, progressively better and less concerned conversation.
Right.
I mean, the first thing was like, Tion was like, so what does it feel like to see his name in your inbox?
Right.
And I just went with how I felt, and I'm like, it feels pretty good. Like, it makes me happy.
Right.
Like, it honestly makes me happy to see his name in my inbox. Now, then there's these other feelings.
Right.
And we talk about what does that mean? Because now you want to know, what does that mean?
Right.
Makes you happy how? Does it make you want to go and rebuild that relationship now that you see there's an opening? What do you want to do with it?
Right.
And that kind of became the whole theme of the conversation.
Right.
And on that day, we got through where I was able to speak super honestly about how I was feeling and, what it meant to me.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think you felt that I wasn't playing and that I wasn't making, I wasn't minimizing anything.
Right, yeah.
And I was just telling you how I felt and what I thought. So that was that.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Like, I didn't leave anything out.
No, that we're all there at the same, just kind of like feeling it out. And like she was saying, not only feeling out what she's going to feel, but also how she's going to tell it to me. Is she going to downplay it?
Right.
Is she going to take the lessons that we've learned that when in doubt, over brutally honest versus hedged honesty?
Right.
And she did fine. And so, we were able to stay calm. I didn't have any flags or any triggers.
Nope. So then, like it didn't work out that I didn't, that we didn't hang out for coffee. And I was like, I see this client once a month, so I'm going to give you a heads up. And, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Right.
And I had zero expectation about it, nothing. Like, there were no email communications or anything, after that. And then when I knew when I was going down next time, I'm like, hey, I'm going to be there such and such day, let me know if it works for you. And he's like, okay, cool. So, I checked in, whatever. We ended up making a coffee date that, explicitly was going to last an hour and a half.
Right.
And then that's just a quirky person on the other side. And, I was excited. I was, like it was a interesting ride of emotion of like, I was super excited. And then as it got closer, I'm like, oh, but I don't want to get disappointed.
Right.
And I told T, like I was telling you the whole time, like what I was feeling.
Right. The ride. And then the last, I was like, I really I don't want to be dragging information out of him or dragging the actual, so the whole meeting for coffee just felt like it's super easy for he and I to be in our old school style of communication that's really super comfortable. We did it for 10 years. We obviously really super like each other. And it's really easy for us to communicate. Right.
And then I'm like, yeah, but then there is this, that's easy, but anyone can do that. But for us to have any sort of, friendship going forward.
Like authentic.
Right, yeah. Authentic, real friendship, we need to get on the same page. I had done a whole bunch of work in the last 3+ years.
Right.
And this dude knows nothing about it. Nothing, right? And he doesn't know how Tian feels. He has no clue where Tian and I are in our relationship.
Right.
So it's my job, if I am to meet with him, I'm not going to just hang out and have coffee and talk about family and friends.
Right.
But I'm like, all right, let me gauge if you are interested in any type of work to get to the same place.
Right.
And as it got closer to us actually meeting, I started feeling like, oh God, that it's gonna feel like I feel like it's gonna be just work.
Right.
And I can put work in if it's producing result, then it's exciting.
Right.
But if it's work for the sake of work and it's not being met with anything from the other side, it just sucks. And
Right.
I'm like, all right, well, I can, for the sake of, what that relationship meant to me and what the trauma that Tion and I both have from it, like trying to work through it, I can put that work in fine. One time it's fine. So, we met up and it was super, like, I was super happy to see him. He was super happy to see me. It was super duper easy. And then half an hour into it, I'm like, all right, I only have 45 minutes left, right? I left. I'm like, well, hey, let's talk. What do you want to do? He's like, well, and it just became, I pushed a little and I got like this much.
Right.
And then we rerouted to the easy parts of other stuff.
Right.
And then I pushed a little more and I got like a little more.
Right.
And then it got back rerouted. We ended up hanging out for 3.5 hours, of course.
Right.
And then I pushed again and I got even more. And I'm like, all right, that's as much as I can do today.
Right.
There's probably enough for if he wants to work out anything with Tion. It was basically not about my relationship with him.
Right.
It was about Tion's relationship.
Right.
And whether or not they can get to the point where there is no, like bad feelings between them two. Because it's not even about creating a new friendship.
Right. No, it's, it's for me, it's about amending the past enough to where I personally feel that everyone's acknowledged their role in this. There's no heroes or villains. There's wrongdoings, but there's no heroes or villains in this. And that we can own that, and we don't have to be condemned by our shortcomings if we're willing to identify them and own them and apologize for them and be forthright, like, yeah, and just sit in that space. And so, we went through that. She went through seeing him, and it was a roller coaster ride of different feelings and angles. But we both ended up on the same page, which was great, is that if it can't be authentic and we can't communicate in the space that we are and who we are, then it's not necessary. And so we worked through that. There was a few other rides of just trying to, for her to process the different way that he would respond. He eventually wrote to me. I wrote with questions. He wrote back with some answers. I wrote back with more questions. But all the while telling him, me and Eula did a lot of work, and that's why we're here. And so it showed me that if you're willing to do the work, we can create some kind of friendship. If not, we can just be cool, and I'll never speak bad about you. And if I see you, it's all love. And so he kind of alluded that, he's willing to just share what he could. And he did. And he did enough. Like, he's not the type of person who's going to nerd out like us. We're not going to have several conversations about it. And after the second conversation with, through email and stuff, my spirit kind of tapped me, was like, okay, it's good. Like, we don't need to grill this person. He's sharing a lot as compared to how he normally shares. He's sharing a lot. He's putting in the effort to do that. And it's a process. Give space. And so I ended the last one, was like, cool, I appreciate you, very cool. And he's like, yeah, we can all link up, because like the next step would be for all of us to interact. And I said, yeah, it'll be cool. And so then once we got through there, we started talking about the things that me and him would normally talk about in our friendship, about business and about kind of catching him up with some of the things I've done. He's kind of like a big brother mentor. And so he gets really excited and he really cares about my well-being, my career, and my path. And so I kind of updated him on that. So we kind of got into a space where we could generate some good, light, but rich energy. And then from there, the next email, he added some more honesty. And so it's gotten to a place where, we can move forward, and that knot of pain and resentment, I'm now free of that. I don't have to sit and be like, because whether or not it's justifiable or not, if we hold on to pain and anger and resentment, it does stifle our flow. And that's what that meme was like, holding on to pain or jealousy or any of that is like swallowing a poison pill and being, God damn it, how does it go? It's like trying to punch the other person by you swallowing the pill.
Yeah.
Because you're living with that. You're harnessing that pain. So it felt really good to let go. It felt really good to let go in a real way. Not like, fuck it, I don't care. I'm over it. Like that's still anger. But it was more like, nah, it's cool. Like there's a place for him. There's a reason why he was in my life for, 30 years from when I was 12 years old up. There's a reason why he was in her life. There's things that were done that probably weren't the best, but that's part of the face planting and growth. And now we have a chance to amend it all and do it right. And omit the parts that were the parts we probably shouldn't have done and go there. And who knows what that will be. We may not be having family reunions and kumbaya, but I know he feels good that he's able to share his honesty with me and have it be seen and heard and respected and understood. And that I share with him that I appreciate him and I care about him. And so now everybody can go back to the parts of his life and feel like he's not holding on to this one thing that like.
Well, and also I think that, it was absolutely not what he expected.
Right.
That's how you will come through. Right? It was probably sort of a fishing expedition for him to understand where you were.
Kind of see
and it was easier to reach out to me than to you. But that was how you responded to it and how you went deep and then you came out of it, with what he gave you and you appreciated, and it wasn't, it really feels like it's done. It was the last thing that he expected you to do.
Right.
So that, without any, I feel like without sharing with Brian any details of what we have gone through in the last 3 years, for him to experience that process with you shows you where you are compared to where you were before.
Right.
And how there's a reason why he feels that much love for you.
Right.
Like you're higher on that pedestal than you were before.
Right.
And that's, I think that's, if all that comes out of it is that.
Right.
Like,
then everybody can really feel.
And then you gave him a little space, a little taste of the space where, I can actually share how I feel and how I felt and what my decision-making process was, and I can navigate these things and look back and explain how, yes, this was wrong and that was wrong, but I also felt this and I felt that, and it'd be a safe space. It's kind of the same as I'm learning. I can tell you how I feel, I can tell you how I felt, I can tell you how I still feel, I can tell you all the ups and downs, and you understand. Right.
Yeah, and it ties into this whole episode about narration and telling the story. Is when I wrote to him after he reached out to me and my detailed email, I was able to, with the guidance of being calm and being at peace of mind and hearing all the different people in me, to write to him about how painful it was and how I couldn't believe it and how what the fuck, and at the same time but I never checked and got paranoid because my gut felt whatever your friendship was good, it was healthy. And so I was able to show him, like, I didn't come off to him like, you're wrong, I was right. If you can admit that you were totally wrong and I was a victim, we'll be friends again. It was more like being able to tell the whole story. Like, all the while I went through all this of being betrayed and just being completely blown away by all of this shit. At the same time, though, I understand why you did what you did. I understand why she did. I understand the role that you guys played in each other's lives. I do see the benefit in it. There's nothing wrong with that. And if the wrong thing was just in how there's an ounce of deception that blossomed as far as part of the bed. And so he was able to feel that. And when you're able to share the whole story, where there's heroes and villains, but they're not assigned to people. Heroes and villains are the energy and the actions, but those aren't permanent to people. Those flow. Jealousy flows, envy flows, deception flows. It's not like it's stamped to one person and the other person's an angel. And able to do that, it gives the other person room to then open up and own up without feeling like it's a battle of who needs to take what on. And if I'm grateful that I was able to have the right nourishment and support and just not be so triggered to where I could do that, because it really ended this spiral of resentment. It really ended this spiral of like this feeling you get when you think of this person, or when you think of what happened. It gives you a place for it all. Like, yes, there's room for the pain, there's room for the betrayal, all that is valid. There's room to understand that there was a loving, caring camaraderie that they had, and it wasn't to my detriment. It was to my benefit, although the actions and pathway may not have been aligned with that. The intentions were not all one day. So like there's room for all of that in the story. In our story, there's room for me to be completely hurt and betrayed in a series of like bone-breaking deceptions and learning about it. But there's also room to know why Eula did it, where she came from, and also all the other amazing good shit she does for me, all the other ways she shows me how much she values me and appreciates me and puts me in a higher space. There's room for all of that. It's not all hero or all villain. There's room for all of that. And that gives us room to face plant, to feel like I fucked up. I need to amend this, and know that you will not be guillotined and beheaded because of what you've done. You'll actually be welcomed with space to share that and be greeted by both the repercussions of your actions, the pain of what you've caused, but also the hope and the listening space and the compassion and the understanding that we're human and we're going to fall and we're going to fuck up and we're going to keep moving as long as we both want to. So how's that for a bow? Is that a bow? There's a bow.
There you go.
Yeah. So
yeah. The juicy detail or the juicy question that I got from, no, there are no juicy details that you don't know about.
Well, shit.
The juicy questions that I got with, from the couple of people that I shared with, like, right. Hey, guess who popped up? They're like, oh, are you going to have sex with him again? Right. Like, that's like number one question.
Right.
And that's really why I wanted to do this episode.
Right.
To close this. Because.
Perfect. You got like 12 minutes.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm almost done. Because I was like, really? That's the question you're going to ask me?
Right.
After all the stuff that you have watched me go through?
Right.
And maybe I don't share enough. Like, maybe right. I don't, like, the things that I share don't really accurately reflect how I, like, all the stuff we went through.
Right.
Because Brian popping up and me feeling happy about it didn't equate to anything near sex to me. Like,
right.
And that's the first question that comes out. So I'm like, let's go on this little journey and explain what happened and how we rounded it out. And it was not a rounding out between he and I to create this other relationship.
Right.
But it's really rounding out in the way that we have trained to share and live, and it's creating the, like I feel that after, the way that we have handled it
Right.
makes energy go flow through without any snags.
Right.
You know, it's not for me, it's not for you, it's for us,
Right.
taking everything into that happened into account. I can't just dismiss the trauma, both in you and I,
Right.
the years of learning from it, the face plants, all of that, and jump back into, oh, the dude's back. I'm really happy. I feel the same way about him as I did before. Let me go get some.
Right.
Like that, that none of that equates to this.
Right. And we'll get more into why people ask that question, next episode. So, but it goes into what we talk about is, communication is a multi-lane street. We tell our stories a certain way. There's no guarantees what the other person's going to hear, because a lot of times, as subjective as the storyteller is, if we're not careful, which is the lesson of this, the listener is equally as subjective. And we usually gravitate towards things that fit our narrative, and what fits the narrative is either what they're looking for, what is interesting to them,
Right, it's what's
and
interesting.
stuff like that. And you may be like, the moral of the story is all of this, and they're like, but yo, though, like,
but are you gonna have sex? Like,
you're right, but is it gonna happen though? Because like this shit is like a Netflix series, and this is season 3. So I'm wondering if like y'all gonna do this in the next one. So I need to like set my timer.
You know what's also funny? I just told you I left. I do Gratefuls every day, and today's Gratefuls I had sex in, and
well, elaborate that. What does that mean? I had sex.
No, right. So it said sex with like a happy something
emoji, right?
Right. I mean, it was your Gratefuls, but I did not take sex out.
Right.
So it just said one word, right? And people that normally don't jump on my Gratefuls, like, oh, hey, that made me happy, or hey, you've never said that before.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting. If I want someone's attention, maybe I just need to start throwing things in
catchword,
like
sex.
That. Yeah, just like one word, sex.
Sex.
Yeah.
Head.
Well, I think
Booty
like,
cheeks.
to me, it says that, we don't talk about it in like a normal way.
Right.
Everyone loves it. Everyone loves it. It makes everyone happy. Right? It makes everyone happy. But we only talk about it in some scandalous way.
Right.
And in, oh, I don't get enough of it way. Right. But not.
Or in it's the most divine come to Jesus way. It's sacred. It must only be. When in reality, it can be all of that. But there's a big middle.
Yeah.
If it's good, it's really fun. If it's not that good, it's still fun that it happened.
Right. Yep. So it's the same. It's like, are you gonna have sex with him? No. And juicy details are gonna have to come from some other source.
Yeah. So that is episode 35. This is our first episode where we just recorded video, and we'll put it in the YouTube.
Do you want to say how we came up with this concept?
Well, it's a longer story, but the short of it is, a few weeks ago, someone broke into my spaceship and took my backpack that had my laptop with everything on it, that had my portable studio, it had my external hard drive, it had my iPad and everything. It took my whole my office. They basically just took my office. And so I'm in the process of rebuilding that. We got the computer, we got the portable studio, but the little fucking cable did not work. So we recorded this on my phone, Galaxy Note 8. Bam.
There you go.
Also, we tried out our review driving to LA. We tried out our video review of the
Smiths.
The Smiths, Meet the Smiths.
Table.
And it sounded pretty audible minus the loud noise of a car's driving. So this was like, boom. So now you can see us, because some of you guys are like, you should do it on YouTube. So you can see us as well as hear us. YouTube. It's like a Black Russian YouTube. And so it'll be up there. It's here. If you're watching it, you know it's here because you're watching it. If you're listening on Podomatic, iTunes, thank you. Rate our shit. Make comments. All that stuff. I hear it's great. We'll eventually get sponsors. We'll take it on tour. We'll come to your city. We'll do this live and direct. And
I
stuff
think
like
we're
that.
going to sponsor ourselves and go to your city.
Yeah, maybe we'll just show up at like a cafe and like, yo,
we're going to start showing up.
We're going to be
like,
here.
Hey, we're here.
Boom, meet us over here.
Yeah.
So that's that. Once again, always thank you guys for listening. We ask if you like this, share it with somebody. Word of mouth seems to be what's been working really well for us. We get people, periodically, but consistently saying, I'm listening to your podcast. Like they find it through different ways, different channels. We appreciate it. And I'm grateful that my face is now slowly denumbing from my dentist today. And I'll be ready to like drink a smoothie and finish watching the Warriors game.
Yeah. I am grateful that we don't have to be outdoors and our house is not on fire.
Yes. Prayers go out to the folks who are definitely affected first, second, third, fourth hand.
Yep.
By it all.
We will complain about the air quality, but that's just, that's minor compared to...
It's quite relative.
Yep.
Grateful for believing in the power of positive energy, gratitude, and minimizing situations, people, places, things that are toxic, because gratitude and joy bring gratitude and joy. And it's not easy to do that in this normal environment, our society right now, with all the politics, all the shit. It's really hard. It's not something you just set on autopilot. You really got to work for it. And I'm glad we've been doing it because the results have been amazing on personal level, internally, mentally, emotionally, and just opportunity-wise and collaboration-wise, it's been amazing.
Yeah. I'm grateful for, the space that I have with my mom now to start using the lessons that I have learned to hopefully give her some space to feel herself and to express herself. Something that I know she hasn't had in, I don't know, maybe ever. And I'm also grateful for the reputation that I have amongst my Russian friends, that I'm hearing that they're like, yeah, of course your kids would talk about, all kinds of stuff because look at their mom.
Reputation.
Like,
she's a free spirit.
Yes, the reputation is that I'm a free spirit raising very free spirited kids. And
so
that makes me really happy.
Yeah, she'll be doing karaoke soon, like on here. She's also grateful for almost bowling a 200.
Well, I don't feel that I almost bowled 200. You know that I almost bowled 200 twice.
Yeah.
I don't feel it, so I'm like, I'm happy with 182.
Yeah, she got 182. So she doesn't know that feeling of like, technically a 182 is a failed 200.
No.
The same way, if I bowled 279, I'm not excited about it because that means I almost had a 300. But I didn't tell her. I don't want to steal her joy. So that's what it is. Tiambuku 1, Eula, the Park Ranger, the Black Christian Podcast, episode 35.
Thank you.